back to Gaming Hot Takes, a series where I rank your hottest takes about various video games. In today's video, we'll be talking about one of my favorite video games of all time, Super Mario Galaxy. This game's got a special place in my heart, so I'm very curious to know what you guys like or didn't like about Mario Galaxy 1. So with that said, let's get into what you guys sent in. I love the game, but I don't love the movement besides the Luma spin. So I've heard some thoughts on this. A lot of people, you know, they love the game overall, but they're not like the biggest fan of the spin attack in this game. I personally have no problems with it, but I guess I can kind of see why some people may not be too hip on it. It's not really that fast. There's kind of like a 2-second, 3-second cooldown period. So if you're like trying to like, you know, spam the remote swinging, it doesn't really work for you that well. But yeah, overall the movement though I think is really good. I think Odyssey by far is still the best in terms of like overall movement in a Mario game. That game is incredibly smooth when you like do your moves and whatnot. But Galaxy is also great, I think. It might be just because it's of its time. It's of that Wii era where like, you know, movement controls weren't super duper polished back then. They were great, but like you look to like this versus Odyssey, you can see the difference. But as far as the spin, I've had no issue with it. I like it. It's a cool attack, but I can definitely see why some people might not be too hip on this attack compared to other, you know, things that Mario does in other Mario games. But the spin for me was good. I like it. Some of the purple coin comets suck. Oh man, the memories of Dreadnought purple coins, Deep Dark purple coins, Battle Rock purple coins. Oh man, a lot of those really are a pain in the ass. They're not like, they don't make the game like not fun, but they are really challenging. I think the more you do them, the better you get at them, because I think I can probably beat Dreadnought purple coins and Battle Rock in like maybe 1, 2, 3 tries, but like when you're a first-time player, that will kick your ass because, man, Dreadnought especially, because if you miss one purple coin, you're guaranteed to lose. You have to get every single coin in that galaxy, so if you miss even one, you mess up like one wrong move and whatnot, and you have to restart all over again, so that's really, really stressful. But I think most of them are at least good to doable, but there are a couple like Dreadnought and Battle Rock that I mentioned, and especially Deep Dark too. I think the issue is that a lot of them require you to get purple coins in these like big areas, and it's really easy to get lost in terms of which ones you've already gotten, and there's really no guide to like help you like remember which ones you have gotten, similar to the blue coins in Mario Sunshine. There is the count, like the timer, or not timer, but like there's a thing that like tells you how many coins you have overall, but there's like no map to tell you like, oh, you've already been here, so don't come back here. So it's kind of, that's kind of the bigger issue with some of those purple coin comets. But overall, they're not that bad, but there are a couple that are pretty stressful. But yeah, it is a good challenge though, I will say. It is a good challenge, but I can see why people would hate them to the point where they consider Mario Galaxy 1 unfun, but I disagree there. I just think there's a couple comets that, or sorry, a couple purple coin comets that will make you want to tear your hair out, but overall, they're not that bad. Super Mario 64 DS is better. Alright, here's the thing, right? I do like Mario 64 DS. I think it's better than the original version. Kind of a hot take of my own there. I think I mentioned that before. But, I'm sorry. You cannot compare 64 DS, a handheld remake of a very old console game, to something like Mario Galaxy. And now, granted, Mario Galaxy at this point is like near a 20-year-old game, but like, I'm sorry. I do love 64 DS. It's a great port, but I would not put it anywhere near the same league as Mario Galaxy. Like, Mario Galaxy to me is like the complete package in terms of like, you know, what you want out of a Mario game. Like content, characters, story, post-game, gameplay, music especially. So I appreciate that you think that. If you truly do think that, that's your opinion. But I think most people, I might be wrong, but I think most people would disagree that Mario 64 DS is a better overall game than both Mario Galaxy games in my opinion. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's a general opinion. So Galaxy is better, but you are entitled to your opinion here. Pretty great overall. Purple coins in the last few Galaxies kind of suck. So we mentioned the purple coins a little bit ago, and I agree that some are kind of a pain in the ass to do. As far as the last few Galaxies, like Melty Molten, Matter Splatter Galaxy, those are really fun in my opinion. They are some of the most toughest stars to get, I'll agree with that. but I wouldn't say they suck. Like, maybe they're not, what's the word? They're not really as memorable as, like, you know, Gusty Garden, Good Egg Galaxy, Toy Time Galaxy, but they're still fun. I think pretty much every galaxy in this game is at least good. Like, they're not, like, they aren't all, like, super mind-blowing or super memorable or super iconic, or they're not, like, they don't have the same quality in terms of, like, the stars you can get there across the board, but, I think on an overall sense, the galaxies in Galaxy 1 are overall a lot of fun to do. So yeah, the last few in the Garden Dome, which is the last dome you unlock in the game, they're fun, but I would agree they're not my favorites in the game overall, but they don't really suck. I wouldn't agree with that, but, yeah, they're still fun, so, yeah, there you go. The spring power-up isn't all that bad. So I think this is one of the very few things that a lot of people are in agreement with, that one of the downers of Mario Galaxy is the spring power-up. People do not like it. Now, for me, it's not the best. Like, obviously, the controls can be a little bit wonky, but I don't hate it at all. I mean, there are some cases where I would kind of struggle to use it effectively and get to certain points in the game, or certain areas in a galaxy, but I didn't really find enough issue with it to where I'm like, oh, I hate this. Like, I hate this power-up. It sucks ass. But, I can see why people, because of the controls, or they could have been a bit better, in my opinion, I can see why people, you know, hate this power-up. They don't like it. It ruins the game for them. But to me, like, again, not the best power-up. It could have been better control-wise, and, you know, like, maybe on a more modern console, like, in like, Odyssey 2 or something, or Galaxy 3, if they ever make that. It could be better with, like, the better controls, better hardware, yada, yada, yada. But overall, I think the spring power-up is fine. It's not the best, but I did have some issues with it, but not enough to where I would say I hate the power, but it's not one of my personal favorites. Getting to play the game again as Luigi is cool, but not as fun as the green stars in Galaxy 2. This I agree with. I appreciate that they, you know, they thought the game was so good that they wanted you to play it again as a new character. That's cool and all, but it's definitely not a great post-game reward. Like, I love Mario post-games. I love getting to, like, you know, have bonus content to explore. And pretty much all you get if you do play the game as Luigi again is, you get one bonus star, which is the Star Festival Purple Coin one, which is fine, but it's, looking back on, I think at the time it was fine, but looking back on it, you can tell that it's not really an overall great post-game reward. But then the green stars of Galaxy 2, I think, are an excellent post-game reward. Putting green stars in every galaxy across the entire game, including the bonus world, a lot of them are really hard to get. So I think that for sure is a much better post-game to, you know, give you more to do that's new. Well, not overall new, but, like, you know, you're going to new places to get new stars. So, yeah, I agree here. I appreciate that in the first game, they loved it so much, they want you to play it again if you really did enjoy the game that much, but as an overall great post-game reward, the green stars for sure are the better reward for beating the game. The final Bowser fight is overrated. So here's my answer to this, right? I definitely think that there is an argument here that it is the best Bowser fight of all time, and not for the reasons that you think. I think for people, their best or favorite Bowser fight is the one where it's, like, the most difficult, the most challenging, the most, like, complex. I think what makes this battle in particular so iconic is, number one, the music, because, again, at the time, like, an orchestrated soundtrack for Mario was, like, a joke. Like, there's no way they'd ever do a fully orchestral soundtrack for a Mario game of all things, like this silly game about a freaking plumber going around on planets and whatnot. But it worked, and I think the music that plays during this Bowser fight really does elevate it. And that final section where you're, like, in the middle of the sun trying to beat Bowser is overall just epic. So I do think the atmosphere and the song really does elevate that fight a lot. So for that, I wouldn't say it's overrated, but I can see why people would be not in agreement that it's, like, the best Bowser final boss of all time, because, like, Odyssey's was great, Sunshine's is underratedly great, I would say. 3D World was also great. So yeah, I don't think it's overrated. It may be celebrated a bit too much nowadays, but again, you gotta think back to, like, at the time, like, that kind of boss fight for a Mario game was, like, extraordinary, because it was something that nobody thought Nintendo would ever even try to do for a Mario game. So yeah, maybe nowadays, like, because more games are doing these epic final bosses with these orchestrated, like, amazing soundtracks, it doesn't seem as cool as it did back in the day. But back in the day, man, it was something. So yeah, it's not overrated to me. I disagree here, but I can see why people wouldn't or would think that it's maybe celebrated a bit too much compared to other Bowser bosses. Still the best Mario soundtrack of all time. Nobody expected a fully orchestrated OST for a Mario game, and it worked. I'll just do you one better. I think this is not only the best Mario OST of all time, but maybe one of the best video game OSTs, just period, of all time. Because again, we just talked about this with the Bowser fight. Like, at the time, nobody would have thought that a fully orchestral OST for a Super Mario game would be a direction that Nintendo would go in, and they did. They took a risk here, and it paid off splendidly, because this soundtrack, even, like, almost 20 years later, is still so freaking good. You got Gusty Garden Galaxy, the Bowser music, you got Good Egg Galaxy, the Comet Observatory, Rosalina's theme. Like, this soundtrack is one of those soundtracks, to me, that has withstood the test of time, like, almost 20 years later. Like, there are some games you play where, like, at the time, the soundtrack is amazing, but over time, it kind of doesn't feel the same. But this soundtrack, and Galaxy 2's soundtrack, as well, have really just aged super well, because they are still a blast to listen to. They don't feel like they've aged at all to me. And yeah, like you said, at the time, like, a fully orchestral soundtrack, like, was unheard of for a Mario game, but they did it, and I'm so glad they did, because they made something special here. So yeah, I think it is not only the best Mario soundtrack of all time, but one of the best OSTs you'll ever hear in any video game. One of the few games where the Wii motion controls were actually good. So many Wii games had terrible motion controls. Yeah, that was kind of an era where, like, people were so excited for the Wii, but there were so many games that forced in motion controls that actually made the game worse. Case in point, Sonic and the Secret Rings. That game could have been good if the motion controls were actually good, which they're not. They suck in that game. But Mario Galaxy, I agree, is definitely one of the better ones. I think we mentioned the spin attack earlier in the first hot take, but that attack can be kind of divisive nowadays for some people. But I think on an overall sense, the motion controls in Mario Galaxy 1 are great. Had no issues with them. Using the launch stars and the pull stars felt fluid, didn't really have any issues there. And yeah, overall, like, I do agree that some Wii games, you know, have bad motion controls and kind of force them in, but Galaxy 1 definitely didn't do that, and they're great, and I love that. So yeah, I definitely agree 100% here. I honestly don't know which is better, Galaxy 1 or 2. So you know you got a pair of great games when people still to this day, almost 15-20 years later, are still debating this question. Which is better, Galaxy 1 or Galaxy 2? And here's my answer, right? I think they're both better than the other for different reasons. So for me, I think Galaxy 1 has the better soundtrack, has the better overall galaxies in some cases, and the better story. However, I think Galaxy 2 has overall the better gameplay, the better post-game for sure. What else? I like some of the bonus galaxies a bit more than Galaxy 1, in my opinion. 2 has the bonus world, which is great with the perfect run. So yeah, I think my answer here is that it depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a better soundtrack, if you're a big music guy and you want to get a better soundtrack, I think Galaxy 1 has the better overall OST. Better gameplay can vary in certain cases, but I think Galaxy 2 takes the edge from me. But if you're a big post-game guy and you love, like, you know, having more to do after you beat the main game, Galaxy 2 is by far the better game with the green stars. So yeah, that's how I would answer this. I would say it depends on what you personally look for in a Mario game or just a game in general. If you want more to do, Galaxy 2, better music, Galaxy 1. Overall gameplay can vary between Galaxy 1 and 2. For me, 2 is the overall better game, but I still love Galaxy 1 so much. My 2 favorite games of all time. So yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for in a Mario game. It's the best 3D Mario game, and that's coming from someone who adores Mario 64 so much. So yeah, I'm fully aware that 64 is an iconic game, and people know my take on it. I do like Mario 64, but it's my least favorite 3D Mario game of all time. So yeah, I think Galaxy is far and away better than 64 for a lot of reasons. Better overall gameplay, better soundtrack, better experience. And I will stand by that. Again, I like Mario 64. I cannot stress that enough. I love that game. But the experience overall in Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, Sunshine, Odyssey, to me, was better than 64. So, if you don't think that, that's fine. I know 64 has its dedicated fan base. I'm aware of that. I prefer the remake better anyway than the original version. But yeah, Galaxy 1, I think, is the second best 3D Mario game for me, behind Galaxy 2. But they are, for sure, to this day, still the 2 best 3D Mario games of all time. And probably always will be, unless they make something new that's, like, super mind-blowing. But we'll see. The Comet Observatory is fun and cool, but I don't think it's the best Mario hub world as people claim. So I love the Comet Observatory, but, I can definitely see why people wouldn't think it's the best, hub world. Because here's the thing, right? I just mentioned how much I don't love Mario 64 in an overall sense, but I would agree that it might have the best hub world of any 3D Mario game, because I do love Peach's Castle. So yeah, I'm not sure if I agree or disagree here. I think I have to really think about it, because I do love Galaxy 1. I do love the Observatory, but if we're talking like every Mario hub world ever, that's a good discussion, because I feel like this is in the conversation for being the best. But the overall best of all time, I don't know. I think 64 might be up there. Galaxy 2 would probably be a little bit worse, but it's still a good hub world. Odyssey has no hub world, obviously. But yeah, I think if I were to say that 64 has the best hub world, I think this one is probably the second best, because it's still fun to explore. I love the music. I love all the domes, like the bedroom and whatnot. But yeah, I'm curious. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the hub worlds and what you think is the best. And we'll see if, like, people agree or disagree with the observatory being the best. I don't know, but we'll see what you guys say. Because right now, I'm a little conflicted here. Alright, folks, thank you all so much for sending in your gaming hot takes. And if you guys want to send in more hot takes for future episodes, then follow me on X, Blue Sky, and on Discord. Because I am on various gaming servers asking questions as far as, like, people's hot takes. So if you see me there, you can answer the question and get in a future video. So we'll see. But I guess I will see you guys in the next one, and until then, bye!